Hi, my name is Phil. I like to talk about politics. In this video, I like to discuss concerns amongst Conservative MPs and the rest of it, but it's Conservative MPs who can actually do something about this, that Dominic Cummings has been given the power to do whatever he likes with our defence policies without any proper scrutiny. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, along with reforming everything else, Dominic Cummings was, a couple of months ago, I think, given full access, as far as we can tell, to our defence institutions with a view to messing about with those as well. And I think the first thing that would occur to me, the first thing I'd consider is, let's be charitable and let us begin from a base position of Dominic Cummings possessing a few attributes. Let us say that he was a brilliant genius. Let us say that he's someone with experience of reforming government departments, and let us say he is someone with our best interests at heart. Even then, it would still be an impossible task for a single person to manage all of this reform for the entire breadth of government departments single-handedly. But Dominic Cummings does not possess any of those attributes I've just mentioned, and he's still being allowed to take a sledgehammer to the entire system. And he's not just picking on a department at a time either. He's flitting from one to another like a hummingbird, which means he's not staying in any one place for any length of time or getting really involved in it all. And try and consider this in terms of the way government departments work. So government has departments for things that it considers important. So you have a foreign office for international affairs and diplomacy. You have the Home Office for policing matters. You have a Justice Department for court matters. You have an Education Department. You have a Defence Department, as in this case, a Health Department, and so on. And at the head of each of these departments is a politician. I would say an elected MP, but that is not always the case. And Boris Johnson has put in charge of a few departments, people who are not at all elected. But generally speaking, they are MPs. You have an MP at the head. So in the Defence Department, we have a Defence Secretary, and they are in overall charge of that department. Now, does that mean that they have oversight over the whole department? Yes and no. They are in overall charge. However, it's too big even for them. So underneath them, you have a whole series of other MPs, often called junior ministers, who are allocated oversight over an individual part of that department. And you have a number of those. So altogether, you have about 100 MPs in charge of the government departments, various tiers, but about 100 politicians, all with varying levels of oversight. So what we're basically supposed to think here is that, and none of those actually have any power because Dominic Cummings has the power at the moment. So Dominic Cummings is deciding everything for all of those people, 100 people. Now, even if you accept that quite a lot of those 100 people are actually incompetent, and again, if you want to be charitable and say that Dominic Cummings is very competent, still, he cannot do the job of 100 people, some of whom must surely be competent. And yet that is what we are being told that he is doing. And, you know, he's going in, he's making his mind up without any proper review process. He carries out the review process. He doesn't get experts in or anything like that. And, you know, he goes in, thinks what he knows what's wrong with it, and then comes up with what he thinks is a solution, and then tells people to put it in place before going off to wreck another part of our nation. And Conservative MPs, it seems, are not best pleased. I mean, from a Conservative point of view, I mean, it's one thing if Dominic Cummings wants to trash education with harebrained ideas about inaccurate algorithms, or if he wants to expose the entire country to a deadly virus, or even if he wants to suggest that people should drive their families to remote castles if they think that their eyesight is in any way impaired. But Conservative MPs do tend to get a little bit sniffy if it is suggested to them that what they are doing is harming the defence of the realm. Yes, I know, our Prime Minister has been played like a fiddle by the Russian government, and we have the reports to show this, and they're not best pleased about that either, and yet, sure enough, they also haven't done anything about that either. But, you know, Boris Johnson fundamentally, although he's not well liked in the parliamentary party as such, he is nonetheless sort of considered one of them. They fundamentally think that ultimately he's on their side. Not so with Dominic Cummings. Dominic Cummings doesn't like the Conservatives. He's on record. He's been recorded He doesn't like them, and they don't like him. The Conservative chair of the Parliamentary Defence Select Committee, which is the group of MPs who has oversight over the Defence Department, said that Cummings should not be allowed to drive a coach and horses through our defence architecture. In fact, there may also be issues from a security point of view with Dominic Cummings being given unfettered access to MI5 and MI6, and apparently he's also been off to the SAS as well. Just as with Johnson, there are question marks over his links with those close to the Kremlin. Now, Cummings has also failed to meet with the Defence Select Committee to answer questions when requested. This should not be tolerated, and normally it would not be tolerated. When he failed to attend a different Select Committee hearing last year, he was found in contempt of Parliament. But he's safe now. This won't happen now, because although MPs could and should vote to find him in contempt of Parliament again, and this time actually force the issue, not just find him in contempt and then look weak by doing nothing about it, which is why on one level, this is another case of Conservative MPs knowing how much damage Boris Johnson, Dominic Cummings are doing, because they're moaning about it, but they failed to have the backbone to do anything about it. I mean, if I were one of these correspondents, and maybe they have been doing off the record, and I was being moaned at by one of these Conservative MPs, I would be saying to them, well, what are you doing about it? If they tried saying, well, what can I do? Are you joking? Because ironically, I would have more respect for a Tory MP that actually wants Dominic Cummings to wreck our country, because they're at least not having anything to stand up for because he's doing exactly what they want. These are MPs who see a tragedy unfolding. They see Dominic Cummings damaging what they genuinely seem to care about. They see the disaster that they do not want to happen unfolding, and all they're prepared to do is whine to the press. Oh, sure, they'll tell Johnson himself that they're not happy. That's happened as well. They've been very vocal with Boris Johnson. But he bumbles something back, disarming them with his charm, apparently. Tobias Ellwood, who is the chair of the Defence Committee, who's been doing the moaning on this particular matter, he said, I'm going to quote here, it's unclear what referring to Dominic Cummings, it's unclear what his role is, and yet he's happy to let it be known that he is visiting clandestine agencies, because he has visited MI5, MI6 and the SAS. He went on to say, we aren't even clear as to who is running the report. I mean, I think we are. Now, this is the chair of the Defence Select Committee, the head of the group of MPs who are our elected representatives, who are there duty bound to provide oversight over the UK's defence. He doesn't know what Dominic Cummings is doing in the Ministry of Defence. He doesn't know why he's doing it, and he doesn't know what he's planning to do in the future. So my question would really be, what the bloody hell is he going to do about it? Because if I were in charge of the elected group tasked with overseeing defence matters, I would spend every working minute pursuing this one issue. I wouldn't let Cummings simply not attend hearings when called, and I wouldn't let the Prime Minister get away with it either. The defence of the realm is at stake. Ellwood is concerned for what Cummings is doing in the Defence Department. What other interpretation is that other than Ellwood, this Conservative MP, is concerned for the state of the UK's defence? And anyone having the nerve to call themselves a patriot and must work to pursue the issue. I wouldn't let him just get away with it. You would be getting onto MPs of all parties. You would be contacting MPs who care about the issue, and you'd find plenty. And you'd be getting those to organise. You'd be getting the media to organise a show of strength against this unelected, unaccountable bureaucrat filling his boots by reorganising our defence procedures without any parliamentary scrutiny, without any experience of doing this, without any expert knowledge or listening to experts in these departments other than his breezing around these headquarters. I would be making such a massive public issue of this. that Cummings wouldn't be allowed anywhere near an army recruiting centre, much less Secret Service headquarters. And without, at the very least, a very, very clear brief that had been approved by that committee of MPs. And yet they don't. They just chunter and they moan. And how does that come across? How does that make them look completely impotent? Because you have here an MP that members of the public have elected to represent us. And they're impotent. They're actually behaving as if they have no power at all. Why did they stand for office if they don't intend to use the power that they have? You know, and the Supreme Court last year, when they were finding Boris Johnson had acted unlawfully in proroguing Parliament for the reasons he did, they made it crystal clear that Parliament is sovereign, not the government. And so it is legally and constitutionally, but when you have MPs with no backbone at all, then in actual fact, Parliament is impotent. Parliament has no power at all. But there it is. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.